Hello. Okay, welcome back. So we are going to be going through the very first sewing project in the sewing project in our beginner sewing course. You purchase this either on my website, through my Facebook, or through my Etsy shop. Thank you so much. If you haven't already done so, please like these videos and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that way you guys can continue to get more of these wonderful tutorials. So for week one, it's very easy. Why I call it week one? Because we have an 8-week course here at our sewing studio, so I just continue to reference this week one. But the first thing we're going to start off with is a pillow. I know it's very easy, so simple. But once you've gotten all this done, you would see that you are going to be thriving through all this. So it may seem like it's elementary, but please do not skip any of the projects because each lesson builds on itself, so that way you can continue to build your confidence, especially with your sewing skills on a sewing machine. So the number one project is a pillow. So we're going to go ahead and open it up. All of the projects are named and they have a reference number on it. Okay, so do it in order. Each of the there's also an instructor's kind of like instruction manual that comes with the entire course, and it teaches you and it gives you written directions step by step on what to do, or you can reference these videos. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to separate our materials. Here we have some scrap fabric, and we do this on purpose. I want you to go ahead and get comfortable with your sewing machine before we move to the pillow. So number one lesson is actually going to be on our sewing machine. So what we're going to do is pull out our sewing machine. Okay, I'm going to bring you guys down just a little bit so you guys can kind of see what we're doing. There you go, perfect. Okay, so we're going to be needing our pins. You guys received a magnetic pin, and you can receive some. I'm going to pull out the hand needle off to the side there here. I just put it all on here, but you get some pins, you get a magnetic pin holder, you get scissors, you get everything you need to make all of the projects with your beginner sewing course. So what you're going to do here, and with our scissors, I'm going to cut these two pieces in half. Okay, I'm just going to put my scissors in there in half and then just cut. Okay, there we go. So for this first one, all I'm going to do is just take two pieces. We always want to double up. We're never sewing a singular piece. So when we're not using a single, we're going to always want to make sure we have two pieces of fabric. If you only have one, then fold it over. But here's what we're going to do. I just want you to get used to using your sewing machine. So we've already threaded it. I've already showed you how to put your bobbin in. What we're going to do now is get kind of comfortable with the sewing machine. Here, this is called our presser foot. Okay, so I'm going to kind of get you guys down a little further so you can see where this is. So right here, that's when you see it up, you could see it up and then you could crank it down. It's not on the back, it's on the side here, but I'm coming from the back so my hand doesn't get in the way for you guys. So when we lift up our presser foot, it brings up the foot. And then you bring it down, it lays the foot down. This is very important when you first get started learning how to sew. It's to remember to bring your foot up so you can put your fabric in, put your foot down so that it goes down. Another thing I like to have you guys do is hand crank your needle down so that it is in the fabric. Okay? Get yourself nice and comfortable right in front of the sewing machine. I'm to the side because I'm obviously recording. So I'm going to go ahead and I want you to do is just kind of get used to hitting the pedal. So it's a lot like driving. The harder you hit the pedal, whoa, the faster it goes. We don't want to go fast right now, guys. We want to take it nice and easy. That's why we have these little scrap pieces for us to practice. So we're going to practice making sure we're going nice and easy. As you can see, I am not even holding it. It's doing it completely on its own. I'm just wanting to get used to the speed at this point. Not really controlling the fabric, just the speed. So now I'm going to go ahead and crank my needle towards me until it goes up to the highest position. Lift up my presser foot and pull the project off to the left. See how easy that came off? You can use your scissors to snip it off, or you can use the side of the sewing machine. Actually has this little thing here, and you just, and it cuts it, push it to the back. Okay, you always want to have a good tail when you get started. That will help you so that the machine does not become unthreaded. If your machine comes unthreaded a lot, you'll get very frustrated. And I promise you, it's not hard at all. We just want to get used to some good habits. Okay, so that's how we did that. I'm going to go ahead and do it again. So I'm going to go and put my fabric underneath. Press your foot down. Crank your needle down into the fabric and then go. At this point, you can kind of control it a little bit if you would like to. There we go. Pretty good. So even when I'm controlling it, I like to tell everybody to stay out of the gray zone. The gray zone is a no finger zone. Okay? My needle is all the way cranked up so I don't have to do anything but just take it off, cut my thread, pull it to the back. Okay? So when you're sewing, what you do not want to do is be like this and be like all in this area with your fingers like this. No, don't do that. Okay? Have your fingers out of the gray zone and guide it. And if you need to guide it, you can turn it this way, turn it this way, turn it this way, put it go around. Come back. Always have your fingers on the outside of the gray zone. Okay? Another thing you're going to want to avoid doing is pulling from the back. You don't want to pull from the back. Okay? If you're pulling it from the back, what will happen is when you're taking it and you're pulling it from the back, right? So let's say we get started here. Sorry, I didn't put my needle down. If you're pulling it from the back, it's going to get inconsistent stitching. Your bobbin's going to probably nest up. And then also what might happen, which is the worst thing that'll happen, is you'll break a needle. So we're going to want to avoid pulling from the back. We just want to just get used to getting comfortable with putting things on and off the machine. So now we're going to practice doing something that's called, we're just going to try shifting the fabric around. So I'm going to use the 1/2-inch mark on my machine to line up my fabric with that 1/2-inch mark right there. So right over here, this line is 1/2 inch. The one next to it is 5/8. So I'm just going to go right inside of that line right there. I'm going to keep my fabric lined up with that. Nice and easy. Again, my fingers are outside of the zone. Okay, so all the way off, pull it off, come off. So just like that. You can see the stitches. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to go again, a 1/2 inch, lining it up, pull it down, and a 1/2 inch to stay consistent. Now, if you have a hard time keeping up with your 1/2 inch seam allowance, in your kit, you got this little piece of washi tape. This washi tape can be used for a lot of different things, but we like to use it on our sewing machines so that we can continue to be consistent with our 1/2 inch. I'm going to go ahead and mark at my 1/2 inch on my machine and just cut a piece. Just like that. It's a nice little hack that we have. So now I'm going to go ahead and come down the other side. I'm going to trim mine off a little bit because it's not quite even, and I want to do a 1/2 inch so you guys can see me do a 1/2 inch with my washi tape. So I'm going to line it up again, right to there, right up to that 1/2 inch mark. Push this down. Okay, so now I want to have you guys practice your back stitching. So we're going to go forward, a couple stitches, hold this down as you hit your pedal, and it goes backwards. I'm going to line it up right here with my 1/2 inch mark. See as it's getting closer to the edge. I'm not keeping my fingers there. You don't want to do that. You want to keep your fingers on the side over here and guide it. Okay, make sure your needle's up at the highest position and cut it off. Okay, just like that. Now we're going to do our very last piece right here. We're going to practice that back stitch, line everything up. It's repetition. Just continue to do repetition and you get to learn muscle memory. Back stitch, beginning. And this time I'm going to back stitch over here at the end. I'm going to back tack at the end. Okay. Lift up my needle, pull it out, cut. Make sure my thread is in between my toe and pull it back. And I've just sewn all the way around. No big deal, but that's nice practice for our pillow. So that we've practiced that, now I want you to go ahead and get your pillow fabric out. Okay, I'm going to change our angle here. Okay, we're going to have our pins, our pillow fabric. Okay, so we're going to open it all up. Everything is pre-cut for you. So for week 1 and week 2, or project 1 and project 2, everything's cut out for you. So is week 3, it's cut out for you. Week 4 is when you start learning how to cut yourself. So we slowly build your skills, but it's building your confidence as well. So we've got both of our square piece of fabric, and they're wrong sides touching. So there is a right side, pretty side, and a wrong side or ugly side of the fabric. So there's the right and wrong sides. The wrong sides are touching right now. That's not what we want. We want to have our pretty sides touching. So I'm going to take my fabric, one piece, pretty side facing up. Take the other piece of fabric, pretty side facing down. So now our pretty sides are touching. See that? Now our pretty sides are touching. Now we're not going to go crazy about trying to line this up absolutely perfect with every single milliliter all the way around. We want it to be lined up pretty well, and then we're going to pin. I say pin 3 pins per side when we first get started. You can probably pin 4 per side if you want to. Just don't go too crazy. So when we're first pinning, there's different ways to pin. You can take your pins and you play them this direction. You do this with a red one. You lay it like that where the pin is horizontal. Okay. When you go to take this to the sewing machine, if I go to put this in right now, because of the head of the pin is on this side and the sharp part is this way, I'm going to stick myself. So you'll have to turn these around sometimes. So in order to avoid doing that altogether, what I like to do to pin is pin like that, where the head is sticking out of the project. Okay, so what you're trying to avoid doing is you don't want to pin so far in that it's bunching up like that. That's not what you want. You want to kind of come in at about 1/4 inch and pin. Take it and pin. You're wanting a little bit to stick out the side. Want to make sure that it lays down flat. Okay, about 3 to 4 per side. And look, it's not perfectly lined up right there. That's okay. We are getting used to pinning and making and sewing things together. Okay. Down and then back up. Down and then back up. Okay, so now I'm back to where I got started here. Okay, so this side is pinned, but we're going to want to mark out a 4-inch opening. Okay, so a 4-inch opening, you can have a ruler. Okay. You get one of these rulers as well. So you're going to want to mark out a 4-inch opening for yourself. So it doesn't have to be exactly in the middle. It doesn't have to be precise in any particular way, but you do want to, what you do want to have is it not be at a corner. You do not want to put it so close to the corner that you have to turn it out. Don't do that. Try to be somewhere in the middle. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I do suggest that it be somewhere in the middle. 4-inch. Let's do 5-inch because it's kind of, I got little hands, but that might not. So 5 to 6-inch opening right there. Okay. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to end here. There's a pin there, so I'm going to move my pin over. So there we go. So here's where we're going to start. So when we're getting started, the fabric goes away from us. So if we're starting to sew and we start here and we sew away from us, then that's going to sew our opening close. So we don't want to start here. We want to start out the one that's closest to you. So we're going to start sewing here. When we sew, remember, we're going to back tack. We're going to do a back stitch here. Then we're going to sew off, put it back on, sew off, sew, and then stop here and back tack. Okay? So we're making 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines that we are sewing. Okay? We're going to back tack at the start and end of all of them just to give us a good habit. Take your sewing machine out. Keep your magnetic pin cushion close to you because we want to make sure that our pins don't get on the floor. We don't want them ending up on the floor. Okay, so again, remember we said we're going to start right here at that notch closest to us. Make sure we line up our side of our fabric right against that. Put our needle down. And we're going to back tack. We're going to go. There's about a finger distance between the tip of the foot to the needle, to the pin, I'm sorry. Going to go. Stop. Move the pin out the way. And sew off. Okay. I know some people who've probably been sewing for a while are like, no, don't do that. It's wasting thread. You have to start with basics. So we're starting with our basics. Down. Make sure you're using that back tack, back stitching. Keeping it lined up with the side of my washi tape there with the 1/2 inch. Okay. The weight of it is going to shift, and that's why it's okay. We're going to have to keep moving it over, and that's okay. What you don't want to do is take this pin out right now. Some people will start taking it off. This will take it, and then this will start shifting and moving on you. We want to get in the habit of getting close, but not too close. Never try to take a pin out while the machine is running. Okay. So we're not keeping our eye on the needle, we're keeping our eye on the side of the fabric up against the washi tape. That's where we're keeping our eyes. It's okay if it kind of comes apart a little bit and it's doing this. It's okay for right now. We're not looking for absolute perfection right now. What we're looking for is good habits. So, with that 1/2 inch seam allowance, it's giving us plenty of room for us to catch all the layers as we're going around. I almost took that pin out too soon. See? Just now take it out. There we go. Lining up right here. This is where I'm keeping my eye on. And making sure everything is lined up right there. This is where I'm keeping my eye, right here. Take that out. My fingers are a little bit in the gray zone, but they're like right on the edge. You don't want to get too close, guys. Want to make sure we have safety first. Okay. Now we're coming back to that very last part right there is where my opening is, and that's why I mark it out. Some people ask me, do I get like right on top of it? I think we'll get close enough. Like you don't want it to be like 4 inches away from it. And then that's our pillow. Pretty neat, huh? Okay, so now we've got our pillow. We've done our opening, things like that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn this out. We're not trimming our corners. Most times people will tell you to trim your corners, but because our seams have intersected here, we don't want to do that, okay? We're going to take our hand, put it inside, and turn it out. We're going to be building our skills, so don't worry about some things may not, like, oh, that's not absolutely perfect. It's okay. We're building our skills right now, okay? And this is great, especially if you're trying to teach young kids how to sew. There we go. There it is. So with your course, you got a bag of polyfill. We're going to fill this pillow up, and then I'm going to show you how we are going to close this off. Okay, so now that we've filled our pillow, it might be a little lumpy, but it's okay. It'll kind of relax after time. We are going to take our hand needle that you've received with your kit, and we are going to just take some thread. Like just take it from the top. Here. Get yourself a good amount. Usually they say about an arm's length is usually what they say. This guy disappeared on me again. Here he is. Okay. So we're going to want to go ahead and thread our needle. If it's kind of like not wanting to cooperate, you can kind of snip off that edge and wanting to double it up. And what that means is you're going to have 2 threads. It's going to be looped up here, and there's going to be a knot down here. Take it and make yourself a knot. Okay? It doesn't have to be pretty, but just have to be a big knot. Don't be too pretty, just have to be a big knot. Now what we're going to do is I'm positioning myself that I have the pillow up against the edge of the table. That's perfect. So that you guys can see, I'm taking my finger and I'm just finger pressing my nail a crease. Just so I can follow it along. I'm going to come in from underneath. I'm going to open it up, come from underneath, and now my knot is on the inside. Okay, so I'm going to come across from there. I'm going to use my fingers to kind of help me guide, staying on, come across, going into that crease, coming up, down and up. Okay, that's called a ladder stitch, and when you pull it, it becomes invisible. It's pretty close to a stitch that you know surgeons use to stitches back together and make stitches. There we go. We have that. So if that's just a little too difficult for you, you're not quite able to do that, that's okay. I'm going to show you a different stitch to use. Just tie that off. Okay. What you can do is pinch it all together. Right? And you can use a pin if you'd like to at this point. You want to just kind of have it hold it for you. You can. Okay. What you can do is make a small little whip stitch. We're just whipping it at the very close to the edge. I'm just pinching it together. And look, see that? It's like barely an 1/8 of an inch that I'm sewing it all together. and that's called a whip stitch. And I'm just pinching it together, holding it as I am sewing. So we have the ladder stitch, or you could do the whip stitch. If you're doing a whip stitch, you're wanting to keep it small and tight. Small and tight keeps it nice and pretty. This is an easier stitch to learn if you've never done any hand sewing before. It is easier, especially for little hands. The needles that I gave you are all like dulled out at the end. They're very blunt at the end, so they're not sharp at all. We do that on purpose because I don't want you guys hand sewing or teaching hand sewing to any young children, and it's pokes you in the hand really hard and you start bleeding all over your project. So it still goes through the fabric just fine, as you can see. Just continue to hand whip stitch that all the way to the end. Okay, so now here at the end, I go to make my last stitch, and then right before I have my loop go away, I take my needle and I put it in through the loop, and then my knot is really close to the edge. So I do that one more time. I make a stitch. Before my loop goes away, I'm going to take my needle and put it in the loop. I'm going to go nice and tight right there. Now, I'm not going to cut this here. I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to push it through the project and pull it out somewhere else, further down. Take my thread, pinch on, cut it, and there we go. It's nice and close. And you can see a little bit of a lip there where you sewed it closed, but it's not bad at all, really. Look. Put that face down. Look at that. We have a pillow. See that? We have a pillow. Pretty neat, huh? So now we've got our pillow done. That's week 1. So we made our pillow. So this is week 1. We're going to move on to week 2. So if you are wanting to do this project 2. If you're wanting to do this as a weekly type of lesson that you guys can do for either homeschooling or just adding something extra for yourself or your children, then you could do it by week. Or you could do this by day and do a new project each day. Try not to get too overwhelmed and trying to do too many projects at once. Take it easy. Have fun. Learning to sew can be very fun, and sewing should be fun. It shouldn't be stressful, and you shouldn't have a hard time with any of this. So if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them in the box below. If you're trying to find where you can purchase this 8-week course for all the materials and everything that you need, it's on the description box below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, our Twitter, our Instagram, at Garner Sewing Room. Attach us to any of your projects. We would love to see what you guys are making. And let us give you a good congratulations and a yay, you did it type of thing. So if you've completed week 1 or project 1, I'll see you for week 2 or project 2. Thanks. Have a blessed day.